Hey, and welcome to Baking with Chickens. This is a live episode, and this is my show where I bake using eggs from my backyard chickens. I'm up here collecting the eggs for my baking project today. Check it out, and follow me back down to the kitchen. I'm gonna show you how to make my Fruity Pebbles cereal cookies using these eggs. Let's go. Welcome everyone, and I hope you enjoyed that. So today I'm going to show you how to make my Fruity Pebble cookies. You can grab the recipe on my website, bakingwithchickens.com. The link is in the description below. And while you're down there, don't forget to hit a like and subscribe. The first step of this recipe, very similar to my episode from last week, matcha ruby cookies. It's a similar cookie base, but you need room temp butter. So I pulled these out earlier, and I'm gonna drop the butter into my stand mixer. Okay, I'm gonna drop these in. So that is a whole stick, which is a ½ cup of butter. Room temp. So room temp butter does matter because otherwise it won't be softened. I've got a ¼ cup of granulated sugar and a ½ cup of brown sugar. Now the molasses that's in the brown sugar is what's gonna react with the baking powder to give your cookies that fluffy lift. And then it's also gonna make the cookies soft, like that little soft texture. All right, cool. Now I'm gonna add a ½ teaspoon of vanilla extract. So it just brings out the flavor of the cookies a little bit. So ½ teaspoon, I'm gonna do a little bit less because I think there's a lot going on in here already. And 1 egg. I'm gonna do the one-handed egg crack. You ready? Ha! All right, I'm gonna stir this to mix it all together nicely. That's looking pretty good. So we want everything to mix together really well because that's what's gonna make your cookie dough nice. So now I'm gonna mix all of the dry ingredients together. So by mixing them all together, it just kind of makes it even so you don't get any weird blobs. So I've got 1 cup of flour in here. So 1 cup of all-purpose flour. I've got a ¼ teaspoon of salt. I've got ½ teaspoon of baking soda. So I'm gonna stir it all together. And I have white chocolate chips here and my Fruity Pebble cookies. So I have 2 different sets of Fruity Pebble cookies. So this one here, the 1 cup, is going into my cookie batter, and then this is for rolling a little bit later because I wanna jam as much cereal into these cookies as possible. All right, I'm gonna put all the dry ingredients into the wet ingredients. And then give it a little stir. I'm gonna hand mix these in. Okay, so just a little bit, don't over mix the cookie dough, just until you don't see any white flour streaks, like this. This is a really good base. So if you want to try experimenting with different cookies, different cereals, all of those like bad sugary cereals that I couldn't eat when I was a kid would be excellent in these cookies. You don't want to try to put healthy cereal though, because boo, we don't want that. I'm gonna pour in my white chocolate chips, and then I'm gonna pour in the Fruity Pebbles. The Flintstones is a cartoon that ran from 1960 to 1966, and it was the most popular, longest running cartoon until The Simpsons came along. And they were canceled in 1966, but Post, the company that makes Fruity Pebbles, decided to license the Flintstones to market their Pebbles cereal. Because if you remember, Fred Flintstone and Wilma Flintstone had a daughter named Pebbles. So they licensed and paid for the Flintstones to market their cereal. So 50 years they've been on this box, and they stay alive by marketing cereal. Cool, huh?
Not nearly as cool as my hair.
1 cup of cereal going into the mix, and I like to hand stir it in. And don't smash it too much. I want like the dry, like crunchiness in the cookie. I don't know if you can see it. There we go. Okay, put some muscle into it. Stir it around. Ha. Huh. Here we go. So I have my baking sheet lined with these silicone baking mats. They're reusable, washable, really handy. You can also line your baking pan with parchment paper because your cookies won't stick. I've seen some people line with aluminum foil, and aluminum foil is not ideal for lining your pans with baking cookies, and I'll tell you why. So they're great because they kind of don't stick, but sometimes they do, but they also conduct heat. So your cookies will have uneven heat throughout, and your cookies are gonna be a little bit burnt or overdone on the bottoms and not the rest of it. So if you are using aluminum foil and you notice your cookies aren't baking evenly, that might be why. So switch to parchment paper, which is so much better and it has a lot of uses. There's also some biodegradable or compostable parchment paper if you're into that. I highly recommend. Okay, so I got my OXO cookie scoop. I'm going to scoop them into little balls and roll them into more cereal. My butter was already pretty cold and these are stiff, so I'm not going to chill these. I'm just gonna bake them. So into the oven they go for 350 degrees, and then while these are baking, I'm gonna set a timer so we don't overbake them, and let's go visit the chickens. Haha, look at how beautiful they are. The reason why I love doing baking with chickens, why I like the show, and I hope you guys enjoy it too, is I just like to show, my chickens because I love them, but also show you where eggs come from so that you have a greater appreciation for the eggs and the little creatures that provide the eggs that make all of these delicious things that we get to enjoy. So I know that these batches make 13 cookies, so 13 is a baker's dozen. And the reason why it's a baker's dozen is because there's one for the baker to get to taste. So I'm gonna taste one of them. I'm gonna eat some hot cookie because hot cookies are the best cookies. These are so good.
Yes, utterly delectable.
Jam the Fruity Pebbles. They're kind of gooey in the middle. I probably should have baked them a little bit longer. But they're really good. Okay, so these are awesome. Grab the recipe on my website. Give me a like, hit subscribe. Thank you so much for watching this episode of Baking with Chickens. Another live one of my Fruity Pebble cookies. Grab the recipe at bakingwithchickens.com. Next week, join us for dark chocolate meringue pie. Goodbye, everybody. Until next time.